Right, guys. Hello. Hiya. Right, so I am going to be kind of flip-flopping between Facebook and Instagram. Just making sure that everything is set up to go. Okay, so today is going to be a big one. We're going to be looking at 4 poses to help with your Chaturanga Dandasana. And it doesn't really matter if you aren't doing Chaturanga Dandasana yet, okay? And this is because these poses are going to help you get there. Chaturanga is a difficult pose. It took me probably about 2 years to get really comfortable with it. And if you ask any yoga teacher what pose they see done wrong most often, they will most likely say Chaturanga Dandasana. And that is because it's hard and there's a lot of components and a lot of strength that's required. And that's why today I'm going to just be showing you 4 poses that you can work on that will build that strength. So if you also ask any student what pose they struggle with the most, they're going to say Chaturanga. I know that I've got people who've been practicing for a really long time with me, and it's something that they're still working on. It does take practice, okay? And that's why we call it yoga practice. And there are many poses that you can work on to strengthen your Chaturanga, but these are 4 that really have good benefits. So like I said, Chaturanga is a difficult pose, and it's not really one pose. It's a series of poses all linked together, and that's almost what makes it harder, because you've got to breathe and you've got to move between the poses to get yourself kind of going through that Chaturanga Dandasana. It requires strength, it requires breathing, it requires back bending, and it requires practice. So there's a lot involved, okay? In a vinyasa flow class, you might do up to 10 or even 20 vinyasas in a class. And if you're practicing often, you're going to be doing hundreds and hundreds of these, and you can start to get quite frustrated. And I think it's important that you know the poses that can help to strengthen it, and also modifications. So in a vinyasa class, I won't do Chaturanga Dandasana the whole class. I'll start with some maybe dropping my knees. I might even skip some out. And that's not because I don't know how to do a Chaturanga. It's because I know that I need to take breaks and I like to switch it up. Try not to rush yourself, okay? Think about the yamas, okay? These rules to live your yoga by, the do's and the don'ts. Ahimsa, which means non-harming. You don't want to harm your body. You don't want to create an injury. I know that I've got a shoulder injury, and some of that is probably because I wasn't engaging my shoulder joint properly when I was moving through my Chaturangas. Also Satya, which means non-lying. Try not to fool yourself here, okay? If you're not ready for full Chaturanga, don't do it. Work on strengthening the body with these practices. Don't push yourself to injury. It's really, really not worth it. Don't skip the modifications. Take it in stages. So the pose is achievable. I know I'm like kind of scaremongering here, but it is achievable. You can definitely build up the strength to get there, but you need an awareness in your body, and you need to build up that strength. So if you practice yoga once a week, and therefore you'll be practicing your Chaturanga once a week, it might take longer. And that's why if you want to get to a full Chaturanga, you're going to need to put in the work at home. Now, obviously all of us are at home right now. But, spending 10 minutes a day on working on your Chaturanga will help. So for me, I've got my Chaturanga, but something that I've been working on, I haven't actually been working on properly, but something I've wanted to be able to achieve in my own yoga practice for a long period of time is a handstand. And I've never really spent, daily practice working on building up strength for it. I just keep kind of chucking myself upside down and hoping for the best. And this is how I think a lot of people go into their Chaturanga practice. So every day now, I'm dedicating about 15 minutes to getting towards a headstand, not a headstand, a handstand. I might never get there, that's okay, but I'm building up that confidence, and that's what you need to do with your Chaturanga as well. So remember, mindset matters, okay? Mindset matters. Don't imprint on your mind that you can't do the pose or that you're never going to be able to do the pose. Your muscles will give up before your mind does, and you'll train your muscles that they're not good enough to do it. Every time you go into your vinyasa, I want you to be positive, and I want you to work on a small aspect of your pose. That might be holding your plank, okay? That might be doing a small baby press up. I also want you to remember architecture. And by architecture, I mean the bones of the body. So you don't need to be killing yourselves in every posture. If we have the proper alignment, then the poses will become easier for us. You know, when you look at a yogi who's been practicing for years and they look light as a feather when they move, well, it's because they're doing the right architecture. It's because they're helping their muscles by stacking their joints. And that's really important when it comes to Chaturanga as well. If we stack our joints, the bones take a lot of the weight, and therefore your muscles don't have to work as hard and they don't fatigue as quickly. Number 3, don't be a dead weight, okay? Nobody likes a dead weight. If you've ever tried to pick up somebody when they're completely passed out or maybe when they're a bit drunk, their bodies are super heavy, okay? And you can't really carry them. Think about if you're not engaging your muscles and if you're really floppy. If you're then trying to move through a Chaturanga, it's never gonna happen. So, you know, the less engaged you are, the more impossible it is going to be to move your body around. So take that same person, alert, awake, engaging their muscles versus the person who's drunk or asleep, okay? It's going to be easier to move them because they're helping you along by engaging their muscles, okay? When you engage your muscles, your body works to help itself, and that's really important when it comes to your full Chaturanga. Okay, so just getting ready, thinking about these poses, I want you to get your mat ready. I'm going to set up. I'm just gonna look at, okay, so the first pose that we are gonna look at is downward dog. And this posture is actually more challenging than it looks. And the reason for this is it's an inversion, okay? And what do I mean by inversion? Well, you're upside down. Our head is lower than our heart, and it can really be a challenge for many because of this. Your weight is also transferred to your hands, okay? This is really important for strengthening for that Chaturanga. So downward dog has loads and loads of benefits, including stretching our lower back, which is going to help us with those back bends, strengthening our hamstrings, and then also strengthening our lower legs and our feet. Why is this? Well, we often start the day we often start our vinyasa in that downward dog. So this is kind of like the starting position. And it's the foundations of that starting position. It's going to make the rest of your Chaturanga more difficult if you have a really sort of non-confident downward dog as well. Most people start their downward dog too short, which means when they come forwards into their plank, then that plank is also too short. So it's like if you start in the wrong position at the very beginning, then it's going to kind of have this knock-on effect the rest of the way. It makes your bum go too high and your shoulders don't stack over your wrists. Downward dog is a pose of strength. It takes back and shoulder and arm muscles in the body to be in its proper position for downward dog. The deeper you want to stretch, the more you're going to need to push through the upper body and the muscles to work. And this is isometric strength because you're still. Okay, so this is needed in Chaturanga Dandasana. So get yourself on your mat and we are going to take a little look at downward dog. So I'm going to kind of be hopping to and from my mat. So I've got you guys all set up now. So come onto your mat, and an easy way to measure your downward dog, I'm just going to move my blocks out of the way, is to just come upside down into the pose. And then what you're going to do is come forwards into plank. Now, stack the shoulders over the wrists. If your butt is still up high in the sky, it's probably because your downward dog is too short. So walk the hands a little bit further, walk the feet a little bit further until you can feel like your body's in one long line. Okay, let's not talk about plank yet. Push now back up into your downward dog and avoid the urge to walk the feet in. Press into the hands. Push the floor away. Don't worry if the legs aren't totally straight here. So you can have a soft bend in the knees. Push the butt up to the sky. Externally rotate your biceps. Draw the belly in. Now you might be feeling like this downward dog is working a lot harder than you normally are in a downward dog. And that's because you probably are. So see if you can stay there for a couple more breaths, pressing down through the hands, avoiding the urge of walking the feet closer together, which is what you're probably going to want to do. Good. Stay. Breathe for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Nice. Coming back to me, guys. Drop down on those knees. Take a little child's pose if you need to. Okay. So that is your downward dog. And I would suggest holding your downward dog, coming in to make sure that you're measuring that downward dog And holding it, I mean, if you can for 5 minutes, that's really going to build up some strength. It's going to build that isometric strength. It's going to build the wrist strength. You're going to get that external rotation, drawing the belly in, and also really lengthening out the spine and the hamstrings. So I said we were going to look at plank. So plank pose. This is another isometric hold, which means that you're staying still and the muscles are firing and activating, but you're static and you're unmoving, okay? And these static poses, they're great because they build up strength and they're gonna help you in other yoga postures as well. Plank is hard. To activate everything in plank, it is difficult. And every time I see plank being done, there's often some sort of engagement within the muscles that isn't happening. Don't let it frustrate you. It's the exact same as everything else I've been talking about. It takes time, okay? Right doesn't mean perfection, and it doesn't often mean a pretty posture. It means that the right muscles are engaging to protect and strengthen the spine. So why? Why is plank so good? Why do we do plank? It is one of the best postures for strengthening your core and giving you confidence. When I come into a plank, I'm like, pow, like warrior lady, I'm there. And many physios say that the development of strength and isometric holds like plank create less of a risk of injury and straining tendons, okay? And that's soft tissue. So this is great because it's gonna help us not have injuries later down the line. A plank is a core body move that strengthens the abdominal and low back muscles, including obviously the arms and the shoulders, the back and the chest muscles. I mean, it's a bad boy pose. So bringing yourself back onto the mat, just gonna move back, set everything up so you can see what I'm doing. Sorry, this is a bit of a wonky-do type of class because I'm moving to and fro constantly. So plank pose, I would start in your tabletop, okay? So before we come into full plank, start your tabletop. I like to have my index finger forwards versus my middle finger forwards. This helps me to not internally rotate my arms, but it's really just whatever feels comfortable for you. Start to pull the forearms towards each other and then turn the biceps out. So you've got this external rotation, but it's like a torque. Press the hands down. Now, widen the collarbones and look down rather than forwards. From here, just slide one foot back, okay? And then slide the other foot back. Now, make sure you're pushing into those hands. Let's go through the hands again. Press down through the whole hand, pull the biceps or the forearms rather towards each other, turn the biceps out. Broaden the collarbones. Draw the belly button in and switch on your butt cheeks. I really want you squeezing the bum. Drive the heels back and pull the head forwards. Nice. Let's see if we can hold for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good. Drop the knees. Take a little child's pose if you need. Catch your breath. So again, plank pose, guys, you're probably not going to be aiming for a 5-minute hold in your plank. Let's be honest. That's going to absolutely kill you. I mean, I'd be super impressed. Make that a goal. That's great. But, take it in stages. Maybe hold for 10 breaths. Maybe see if you can hold for 15 breaths, maybe 30 seconds. These are really good things to start to build up to. So next thing that is a really good thing to start to work on for your full Chaturanga is a tricep push-up. Your bicep, okay, is at the front of your arm and your tricep is at the back of your arm. This is the muscle that we really want to be working when we're in a full Chaturanga. People who've been going to the gym for a long time, they're used to doing push-ups where the elbows are going out wide and they struggle with the transition to bringing the elbows in, which is a tricep push-up, okay? And this is what we're using for our Chaturanga. Elbows are at the side, okay? And the press-up is no more than elbows distance, okay? So this is going to strengthen the triceps. It's going to keep the shoulders stable. This is the reason why we do it. It creates stability within the shoulders. And if you're wanting to work on things like arm balances or headstands, strengthening control of the shoulder girdle is key. So how do we do tricep push-ups, okay? So again, I'm going to hop back to my mat. So just moving my cameras. Da-da-da. Good. Okay. So I like to start in that tabletop position again and then walk the knees slightly back. Okay. So just slightly back. They can be a little bit more if you want. And then from here, bend the elbows out to the sides and then just turn the eye of the elbow, the sort of inside of the elbow forwards, and the bony bit of the elbow back. So I'll do that again. You don't want to move your hands here. So elbows come out to the sides and then turn them back. Now, pull the arm bone into the shoulder joint. Actively externally rotate the bicep. Okay, you're doing that anyways by turning the elbow backwards. And then roll your weight forwards. Okay, so your shoulders are coming over the wrists. And then just do a little press up. Okay, doesn't have to be far. Push into the whole circumference of the hand and bring the shoulder back. Good. Engage the shoulder, widen the collarbones, take yourself forwards, try to engage the belly, take a little press up, push into the whole hand, and then come back. Okay, if you're someone who's been working on this for a while, you can up the ante. Okay, you can come into your plank, take the weight forwards, a little press up, push back up. Doing maybe only 3 a day. Maybe that's your goal. You're going to do 3 a day and see how you get on. Maybe you up that to 5 a day, maybe 10 a day. Maybe you do 5 in the morning, 5 in the evening. Eventually, you're going to really start to feel the arms strengthening. Now, what I don't want you to do is not stop or give yourself a break if the shoulders start to really hurt, okay? And by hurt, I mean throb. You feel like you need to kind of roll the arm a lot. This is stuff that you don't want, okay? You don't want this in the shoulder. This just means that you're not stabilizing the joint, and it's not ideal. Okay, so the last little guy that I want you to work on is upward facing dog. So these are all the kind of different components of your full Chaturanga, but we're taking them separately, and then maybe one day we can flow into them. So upward facing dog is your baby cobra, then your full cobra, then you're pressing into the floor, engaging the thighs. In up dog, we're stretching and opening the anterior side. So that's the front side of the body. And you probably are familiar with that low cobra or cobra pose. It's also strengthening the back side of the body, the posterior side, okay? So we shorten the muscles on the back side of the body and we lengthen the muscles on the front side of the body. Now, upward dog can be a really intense back bend if somebody is brand new to yoga and you haven't taken time to warm up. So I would recommend doing some So we spend a lot of our time hunched over on our phones and our laptops. So we're in what's called flexion of the spine all the time, okay? We're rounded. Upward dog is countering that. You're coming into what's called extension, and this is a back bend. Now, most of us feel really tight across the chest, and this doesn't feel great, especially at the beginning of our practice. Now, once you start practicing more, coming into these back bends feels really, really good. Up dog opens up the muscles that are generally shortened and tightened by this bad posture. And this will then, in turn, help open up your posture and make your posture a lot nicer. So it stretches the chest, the abdominals, the shoulders, as well as strengthening the arms, the upper back, and the glutes. So it's great. Okay, but how do we get there? How do we get into a comfortable practicing upward dog? So let me just get y'all set up for this last pose. Sorry, it's such a fun angle when I've got all the different cameras on. I wish that I could show you. I need to take a picture one day. So upward dog, let's come on to our belly. I'm just gonna move my mic because sometimes it gets a little squashed when I do this stuff. Okay, so come to lie down and toes pointed. Definitely don't want the toes tucked for this. Keep your hands at your chest, and I want you to just take a couple of lifts. Now, you're not pressing into your hands here, you're lowering down. Switch on the butt, switch on the back muscles, lift, okay? So you might do 10 of these before you come into that full back bend. Now you can start to press into the hands and start to lift higher. Now, what we don't want to do in Cobra and what we don't want to do in our upward dog is straighten the arms and lock out the elbows, okay? This is not good for our elbows. It's not good for our back bending. And we don't want to also be kind of taking Cobra and lifting our whole pelvis off the floor. So to build the back bend, you can work on full Cobra, but trying to melt your pubic bone back onto the mat. So once you feel kind of more confident with those Cobras, you're then gonna lift. Again, I'm not locking out my elbows. And then you're gonna pull the heart forwards and lift the thighs off the floor. I am actively pressing through my feet. I am driving my hips down and I'm pulling my heart forwards. My body is working like crazy, okay? I can feel the strength in my hands. I can feel the strength in the palms. I can feel my back body opening. I can feel my back body strengthening, my front body opening. And it becomes really, really strong, really intense. Now, if you're like, oh God, I'm not there yet, Megan, that's quite intense, just lift into a cobra and with control, lower back down. Now, this is going to be great. This is also little tricep push-ups and you're strengthening, okay? Maybe you can come up and you hold. Maybe you just work on sliding your chest forwards. Maybe one day you push into the tops of the feet and the thighs lift. Maybe you're not there yet, and that's also totally fine. So if you're working or hoping that one day you'll get a full chaturanga, spend time in down dog. Measure out that down dog first, okay? And what I mean by that is come into your down dog, flow forwards into a plank. If the butt is high, if you're not totally flat, bring the feet further apart till the body's totally flat, then go back into down dog. Down dog's gonna be harder now. You're gonna have to use the core a lot more. Then plank, okay? Actively engaging those arms, pulling the arms towards each other, rolling those shoulders out, broadening across the collarbones, butt is engaged. You're not letting the belly collapse to the floor. You really need to be pushing through those arms. Then you've got those little tricep push-ups. Remember, you don't want to drop the shoulders lower than the elbows, okay? So just tiny press-ups to start. And when you go, you lean forwards, then lower down, bring the shoulders back. So when the arms are straight, you're taking yourself kind of beyond the fingertips, lowering down, push back up, and then stack the joints again. Remember what I said about the architecture? And then finally, you've got that back bend. It could be cobra, it could be baby cobra, or you could be starting to lift into that up dog. Work on those poses, and then eventually you're going to be able to start to flow through them. So just to give you an idea of how those poses go together, we find that downward dog, getting a nice long downward dog. We pull ourselves forwards into our plank. We then tip the weight forwards, lowering into that press up, coming onto the tops of the feet, finding that upward dog, and then pushing the floor away and making our way back into downward dog. Woo! So that's it, guys. Those are the 4 poses. If you have any questions at all, send me a message. Let me know how you get on. Try a week. Do a week of maybe trying up to maybe 3-minute holds on the static poses, or maybe 10 little press-ups, and see if you feel any stronger. Right, have a wonderful, what day is it? Thursday, and I'll see you all later. And also, if you want to start building up your yoga practice, I am doing that 8-week beginner's course that starts on February 1st. It is going to be a supercharged, super amazing, progress-driven, step-by-step transformational course that takes you from beginner to an absolute yoga wizard. All right, guys, I will see you later. Bye.